In geology and earth science, a plateau, also called a high plain or tableland, is an area of highland formation. Plateaus can be formed by a number of processes, including upwelling of volcanic magma, extrusion of lava, and erosion by water and glaciers. Magma rises from the mantle, causing the ground to swell upward, in really large, flat areas of rock that are uplifted. Plateaus can also be built up by lava spreading outward from cracks and weak areas in the crust. Plateaus can also be formed by the erosional processes of glaciers on mountain ranges, leaving them sitting between the mountain ranges. Water can also erode mountains and other landforms down into plateaus. Computer modeling studies suggest that high plateaus may also be partially a result from the feedback between tectonic deformation and dry climatic conditions created at the lee side of growing orogens. Classification. Plateaus are classified according to their surrounding environment. Intermontane plateaus are the highest in the world, bordered by mountains. The Tibetan Plateau is one such plateau. Piedmont plateaus are bordered on one side by mountains, and on the other by a plain or sea. Continental plateaus are bordered on all sides by the plains or oceans, forming away from the mountains. For instance, the Antarctic Plateau or Polar Plateau in East Antarctica. Volcanic plateaus are produced by volcanic activity. The Columbia Plateau in the northwestern United States of America is one such plateau. Dissected plateaus are highly eroded plateaus cut by rivers and broken by deep, narrow valleys. Major plateaus. Asia. The largest and highest plateau in the world is the Tibetan Plateau, called the roof of the world, which is still being formed by the collisions of the Indo-Australian and Eurasian tectonic plates. The Tibetan Plateau covers approximately 2,500,000 square kilometers, at about 5,000 meters above sea level. The plateau is sufficiently high enough to reverse the Hadley cell convection cycles and to drive the monsoons of India towards the south. The second highest plateau is the Deosai Plateau of the Deosai National Park at an average elevation of 4,114 meters. It is located in the Astor and Skardu districts of Gilgit-Baltistan, in northern Pakistan. Deosai means the land of giants. The park protects an area of 3,000 square kilometers. It is known for its rich flora and fauna of the Karakoram West Tibetan Plateau alpine steppe ecoregion. In spring it is covered by sweeps of wildflowers and a wide variety of butterflies. The highest point in Deosai is Deosai Lake, or Shiosai Lake from the Shina language meaning blind lake, near the Chilim Valley. The lake lies at an elevation of 4,142 meters, one of the highest lakes in the world, and is 2.3 kilometers long, 1.8 kilometers wide, and 40 meters deep on average. Some other major plateaus in Asia are Armenian Highlands, elevation 900 to 2,100 meters, Iranian Plateau, elevation 300 to 1,500 meters, Anatolian Plateau, Mongolian Plateau, elevation 1,000 to 1,500 meters, and the Deccan Plateau. Antarctica. Another very large plateau is the Icy Antarctic Plateau, which is sometimes referred to as the Polar Plateau, home of the geographic South Pole and the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station, best known as the roof of the frozen white continent, which covers most of East Antarctica, where there are no known mountains but rather 3,000 meters high of superficial ice, and which spreads very slowly toward the surrounding coastline through enormous glaciers. This polar ice cap is so massive that the echolocation sound measurements of ice thickness have shown that large parts of the Antarctic dry land surface have been pressed below sea level. Thus, if that same ice cap were suddenly removed, the large areas of the frozen white continent would be flooded by the surrounding Antarctic Ocean or Southern Ocean. On the other hand, where the ice cap melts away too gradually, the surface of the land beneath it would gradually rebound away through isostasy from the center of the Earth, and that same land would ultimately rise above sea level. North America. A large plateau in North America is the Colorado Plateau, which covers about 337,000 square kilometers in Colorado, Utah, Arizona and New Mexico. In northern Arizona and southern Utah, the Colorado Plateau is bisected by the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon. How this came to be is that over 10 million years ago, a river was already there, though not necessarily on exactly the same course. Then, subterranean geological forces caused the land in that part of North America to gradually rise by about a centimeter per year for millions of years. An unusual balance occurred. The river that would become the Colorado River was able to erode into the crust of the earth at a nearly equal rate to the uplift of the plateau. Now, millions of years later, the north rim of the Grand Canyon is at an elevation of about 2,450 meters above sea level, and the south rim of the Grand Canyon is about 2,150 meters above sea level. At its steepest, the Colorado River is about 1,830 meters below the level of the north rim. Another high-altitude plateau in North America is the Mexican Plateau, with an area of 601,882 square kilometers and average height of 1,825 meters. It is the home of more than 70 million people. South America. A tepui, TPWI, or tepui, is a tabletop mountain or mesa found in the Guiana Highlands of South America, especially in Venezuela and western Guyana. The word tepui means house of the gods in the native tongue of the Peman, the indigenous people who inhabit the Gran Sabana. Tepus tend to be found as isolated entities rather than in connected ranges, which makes them the host of a unique array of endemic plant and animal species. Some of the most outstanding tepus are Neblina, Ortana, Ollantaypuy and Mount Roraima. They are typically composed of sheer blocks of Precambrian quartz-arenite sandstone that rise abruptly from the jungle, giving rise to spectacular natural scenery. Ollantaypuy is the source of Angel Falls, the world's tallest waterfall. The parallel Sierra of Andes delimit one of the world's highest plateaus, the Altiplano, Andean Plateau or Bolivian Plateau. It lies in west-central South America, where the Andes are at their widest, is the most extensive area of high plateau on Earth outside of Tibet. The bulk of the Altiplano lies within Bolivian and Peruvian territory, while its southern parts lie in Chile and Argentina. The Altiplano Plateau hosts several cities like Puno, Oruro, Potosi, Cuzco and La Paz, the administrative seat of Bolivia. Northeastern Altiplano is more humid than the southwestern, the latter of which hosts several salares, or salt flats, due to its aridity. At the Bolivia-Peru border lies Lake Titicaca, the largest lake in South America. Africa. The highest African plateau is the Ethiopian highlands, which cover the central part of Ethiopia. It forms the largest continuous area of its altitude in the continent, with little of its surface falling below 1,500 meters, while the summits reach heights of up to 4,550 meters. It is sometimes called the roof of Africa due to its height and large area. Another example is the High Veld, which is the portion of the South African inland plateau which has an altitude above approximately 1,500 meters, but below 2,100 meters, thus excluding the Lesotho mountain regions. It is home to some of the largest South African urban agglomerations. Oceania. The Western Plateau, part of the Australian Shield, is an ancient craton covering much of the continent's southwest, an area of some 700,000 square kilometers. It has an average elevation of between 305 and 460 meters. The North Island Volcanic Plateau is an area of high land occupying much of the center of the North Island of New Zealand, with volcanoes, lava plateaus, and crater lakes, the most notable of which is the country's largest lake, Lake Taupo. The plateau stretches approximately 100 kilometers east to west and 130 kilometers north to south. The majority of the plateau is more than 600 meters above sea level.